Bolin and Dante Jr. made their way toward the back door, located in an impressive glass wall that clearly displayed all the family members gathered outside. Before reaching the door, Jr. stopped, leaving Bolin walking a few steps forward before looking back. Dante's face clearly showed reluctance to be around so many people, even if they were family. Bolin suspected that might have even added to his nephew's reluctance. "If you're having second thoughts about the fireflakes, there is plenty of other food to choose from," Bolin said in a jovial tone. His nephew replied in a monotone mumble, "That's okay. I'm not hungry." Bolin slumped his shoulders in defeat and tried once more to coax his nephew outside. "Come on, you're not going to leave me to go out alone, are you? You'll be better off without me," he said a little bitterly while staring at the floor, but as Bolin began to speak, he quickly recovered. "Thanks anyway." The melancholy teen then began to shuffle off. "I'm going to check on Kage. See you later, Uncle Bo." Before Bolin could reply, his nephew was out of the room. He paused, thinking about going after him, but instead just sighed and said under his breath, "Say hi to Kage for me." Bolin turned and went outside, where he began to mingle with the other guests. Gan ascended, taking in an aerial view of Varric's estate on Whaletail Island. To the west was a large gathering of people in various groups reminiscing. A large stage under an earth-bent amphitheater was being set up with unique instruments and state-of-the-art sound equipment. Gan looked over to the right to a more secluded section of the estate where he saw a lone figure. Dante Jr. walked toward a barn in the midst of a snow-covered field where polar bear dogs were in various states of play and leisure. He walked inside the dark barn and started to call out, "Kage, are you in here?" His eyes were soon drawn to a dark corner of the barn where one of the shadows seemed to move. "Kage, is that you?" he cautiously asked. A large, dark shape stepped into the light, revealing a black polar bear dog with two small diamond-shaped patches of white fur, one on her muzzle and the other on her chest. The unique beast had a glazed, sleepy look in her eyes, but once Dante spoke again, she started wagging her tail in recognition. "What's wrong, girl? Did I wake you?" The modestly sized polar bear dog shook her head and body to clear her drowsiness, but Dante gestured as if it was an attempt to refute his claim. "Oh, don't deny it. You were snoozing. It's okay. Sorry to wake you, girl." She moved next to him and gave Dante a quick lick on the face and then tilted her head up to indicate she wanted her neck scratched. Dante accommodated her with a smile. "Did you miss me?" He received another lick to the face in reply. The young man noticed she was covered in spider flies. "Ah, poor girl. It seems I'm not the only one being neglected. Let's clean you up." Dante raised his right hand and made a wide, circular gesture, drawing as much moisture from the air as he could, letting it gather in his palm. Then, tilting his hand downward, he allowed the water to gently cascade from his fingertips onto Kage's back. Junior repeated this process several times, adding some soap into the mix until the pesky spider flies started to disperse. After Kage's much-needed bath, the two of them began to play. However, they were soon interrupted by two boys and a girl, all around Dante's age. "So, you have a soft spot for the runt of the pack, eh? Blood runt," Arik taunted. "What's wrong? Is that the only polar bear dog that likes you?" Yoshi, the smallest of the three, chimed in. Kulari responded with even more cruelty than the others. "I don't think the runt even likes him. He probably just bloodbends it so it can't run away." The trio chuckled in agreement. "You're probably right, Kulari." Yoshi pressed his fist into his palm. "Maybe we should rescue this poor creature from the wicked bloodbender." "Yeah, we'll be like Team Varric defeating Zombie Amon," Arik announced in an overly dramatic tone. Dante couldn't help but roll his eyes at their theatrics. "What's so funny, Bloodrunt? Let's see you roll your eyes at this." Arik swiftly shifted into a sideways horse stance, stomping his feet on the ground and lifting a fist-sized rock. Taking a step forward, he swung his left arm downward and then upward in a circular motion, blasting the rock at Dante Jr. However, before Jr. could decide whether or not to face off against his bullying cousins, Kage leapt up to intercept the projectile with her front paw, sending it harmlessly to the ground. She stepped closer to Dante's cousins and let out a powerful roar. The trio, wisely, took a few steps back. A loud gong sound was heard by all in the distance, followed by a rattling noise. Kulari used the distant sound as a way to save face. "Come on, guys, we're missing the band." "Yeah, come on, Yoshi, let's leave the blood run to play in the barn." As the troublemaking trio walked away, Dante patted Kage's head in gratitude for stopping the confrontation from escalating. She emitted a low whimper and affectionately rubbed her muzzle against Dante's head. A young Water Tribe girl rubbed her nose against the muzzle of a small polar dog. Some distance behind her, stage hands were busily setting up for the upcoming event. As one of the workers finished putting together a series of vertically suspended drumheads and cymbals, he backed into a large gong, causing it to fall from its perch. The loud sound startled the little girl, who rushed over to her mum and Uncle Bolin. "What was that, Mommy?" "Nothing, sweetie. It looks like they just knocked something over." "What did they knock over?" "It was loud. It scared the polar dog," Nain inquired sternly, while covering up her own fright. "It looks like part of the drum kit," Bolin explained. "I don't like it, Unky Bo." "Don't worry. It sounds better when a metal bender plays it," Bolin assured her. "I've always been more of a fan of the water harp myself," Kiri said, while nodding to the horizontal harp elevated a few feet up and placed at the center of the stage. "Oh, you're just saying that because you're a waterbender." "Okay, bro. Well, in your non-bender and non-biased opinion, what's your favorite instrument?" she asked with a smirk. "Well, I love the sound of the fire strings." He pointed to the 6 long platinum strings that ran from the stage to the semicircle roof. "But I love the visual display of the omni-winds, especially when played by 2 airbenders at once." The last comment, said in regard to the intricate series of metal tubes that were interconnected with various bells of horns and flutes, towering over the back right corner of the stage. Nene started to ask more questions about the unique instruments, but was cut off by the approach of Han and Mei Li. "Looks like we're in for a good show. I didn't know the Elementals were playing the folks' 50th anniversary. Score Mom and Dad," Mei Li said excitedly. Kiri responded, "Well, between Mom's status as a former president of Republic City and Dad's status as the richest man in the world, they certainly don't lack influence." "If that's the case, then where is everybody?" Han inquired. "I only see a few here that aren't family like Lei Song and Solaris," he said, motioning to the 2 by the punch bowl, engaged in conversation. "Yeah, like where is the Avatar?" Mei Li asked while looking back and forth. "For some reason, Dad wanted to forgo the usual theatrics and just have mostly family here this year," Bolin said, before looking down contemplatively. "What is it, Bo?" Kiri asked with concern. "I don't know. Nothing, I guess." Kiri could tell he was holding something back, but she didn't press the matter. Instead, she looked back to Lei Song and Solaris and saw an opportunity to use her special brand of levity to cheer her brother up. "Hey, watch this," she said, looking toward the unsuspecting duo. Solaris was talking to Lei Song, who, with his back to the bowl, was nodding attentively to Solaris's words. Kiri started bending the water from the punch bowl up slowly into a long, sinewy neck that formed a head resembling Dr. Lei Song. The waterhead, already having gotten Dr. Solaris's subtle attention, started to bobble up and down much like Lei Song was doing. Solaris was trying her best to keep from laughing, but eventually caved to the sound of Nene's infectious laughter, and the jig was up. Dr. Lei Song turned around to be greeted face-to-face by his watery doppelganger, and more laughter erupted. After recovering from his initial startle, he collected his poise, picked up an empty cup, and filled it from the face of his liquid look-alike, causing it to ripple and slowly drip back into its semi-circle source. Afterward, he nodded to Kiri and raised his cup, as if toasting the well-played gag. Lei Song turned back to his conversation, only to glance over his shoulder before escorting his colleague a few paces away from the punch bowl. Nene, still recovering from her laughter, was tugging on her mom's dress to ask her something when she was again interrupted, this time by the approach of her cousins. Arik injected himself into the conversation. "Hey, what gives? We thought the band had started." "Yeah, we could have sworn we heard drums." Kalari pressed further. "That was just a stagehand knocking over part of the drums," Han responded. "Ha! You let that runt get away for nothing." Yoshi immediately caught his slip, even before Arik and Kalari shot him harsh looks. "And what runt is that, son?" Han asked, looking toward Arik, who began staggering. We caught Dante Jr. bloodbending one of the polar bear dogs," Kulari exclaimed, loud enough to get reactions from some of the people nearby, while causing little Nene to gasp in shock. Bolin saw past the obvious lie, but before he could ask the logical follow-up questions to get the trio to admit the truth, Mei Li took it at face value. "I swear that kid is the reincarnation of a man." Bolin discreetly face-palmed. "How would you know?" "He died before any of our times." Bolin reminded his little sister. "Well, after finding out we have a bloodbender in the family, I decided to read about him. But if you ask me, the kid is even worse than him. I mean, I don't think a man ever killed anyone." Despite not being a bender, Bolin looked as if he was about to breathe fire, but any attempt to do so was stopped by the timely approach of Dr. Lei Song. "I'm sorry for the interruption, but I felt the elevated heart rates over here might threaten to knock over the punch bowl, and I am partial to watermelon mango," he said with a playful smirk in an attempt to de-escalate the tensions that he truly felt. Kiri attempted to take advantage of the doctor's unique abilities. "Not at all, Lei Song. In fact, you might be just the person to help us solve a dispute." "Oh, not as a doctor, I take it. I mean, there are plenty of those to go around," he said, motioning to a few others and Kiri herself. "No, you're right. I was thinking more of a truth-seer," she said, while turning to the now visibly shaken trio. "Oh, I see," he said with a raised eyebrow and a smirk of amusement. "Would one of you like to tell Dr. Lei Song what you saw?" Kiri asked the trio of teens. None of the kids looked eager to tell the truth, seer their story, and the longer they hesitated, the more obvious the reason why became. Han grabbed his son's hand and led him away. "I think we need to talk, son." Bolin addressed Kulari and Yoshi. "I think you two should find your mom and worry less about what your cousin is doing." Kulari nudged her little brother to follow her, and the two walked away toward Umi. "Well, thank you for settling that ridiculous dispute," he said, looking to Lei Song. Then he addressed Mei Li and added, "And I hope you won't be so quick to judge next time, little sis." "Whatever, the kid still has problems," she said, while flinging her hair and walking away. Nene tugged on Kiri's dress. "Mom, where are Grandma and Grandpa?" "I don't know, honey. They should be here." The last comment addressed more to her brother than her daughter. "Yeah, maybe you should track down our esteemed hosts," Bolin urged his younger sister. Kiri reached hold of her daughter's hand. "Come on, sweetie, let's go find 'em." "Can the polar dog come too?" "No, sweetie, he stays here." "But, Mom," she started to pout until Bolin interjected. "Don't worry, it's okay, I'll watch him. You just make sure Grandma and Grandpa aren't late to their own anniversary." The little girl smiled as her mom led her away. "Okay, we'll go find the couple of the hour," Kiri declared before heading inside Varric's large estate. Once the two men were alone, Bolin thanked him again for his help. Lei Song paused as if wanting to ask something, but instead just replied, "My pleasure." Almost as an afterthought, Bolin turned to him once more. "Actually, there is one more thing you can help with."